Ay, sí, pero tú no sabes.
Hello. Yep. Okay. What you prefer? Here, three, and me.
You go there.
Yes.
Okay.
Tyler. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here. Thank you very much to Catalyst Now and the rest of the partners to invite us to stay here in the Social Innovation House. It's a pleasure for me because it's my first time in Davos. I think it's not alone here with the first time in this Congress. I am excited. I'm José from Madrid, from Móstoles. Móstoles is a small town near to Madrid. I like always to say that because sometimes the big cities is there, but the small cities is not there. We are here in this panel with three colleagues to speaking about the cities like laboratories of innovation. And always in our company, Sustainable Startup & Co., always says that we need to start knowing what is innovation, because when we repeat a word a lot of time, sometimes lose the meaning. And always say that for us, innovation is the new nova action born inside of the people. And maybe this is the way, thinking inside, to throw new ideas to put in action. And if we are living in the world, 8 billion people today, and we're living in a big cities, a lot of people, maybe we can start to think that these cities is small laboratories to create new ideas. And for that, it's a pleasure to introduce the colleagues. In my left is María José from Compromiso, Bogotá. Now we can know more about the organizations. In the next seat, we have Carolina Deik, I say well, First Lady and Social Manager and Mayor Office of Bogotá. And at the end, no less important, Tyler Samstag, okay, Executive Director, Remake Learning from Pittsburgh. We are from different countries, USA, Colombia, Spain, and we are trying to share with you why it's important to create these kind of things, laboratories and the cities, okay? And this is the first question, but we share the dialogue like three big blocks, and the first one is the purpose, the why. But before start to share with the public where is the organization that you are here, María José, who is Compromiso Bogotá. What are you doing in Compromiso Bogotá?
So Compromiso Bogotá is a systems change initiative co-created between the community, business people, foundations, and we work with the public sector also. So what we're doing is we are from the understanding of the needs of the community, we are making the community leaders stronger so they can generate more good things for the community. So it has empowerment of leaders. It has also generating income for the community. It has culture and mental health as the main lines of work. And we are co-creating several routes of service with the foundations, with the communities, and with the business people. And what we get is that generating a space where everyone can have their input and can give their feedback around what's happening, we have a better impact.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you very much. Carolina, what is the organization you're representing here?
Well, actually, I am a trained lawyer. I run a law firm in my day job. But recently, my husband was elected a year ago as a mayor of Bogotá. And since then, I've been working in several initiatives that aim to search for innovative solutions for local problems while building trust and enhancing more participation. So the biggest two projects that we're holding is, one of them is a food bank that we've made with rescued food. So what we try to do is mobilize food around closed networks, and we collect food waste, which would have been food waste. So we collect this food excess and we take it through agency partners, through vulnerable people, and we do it for free. So what we do is raise funds to pay for the logistics, so that way we can mobilize food and avoid the waste. And the second project is very similar to Compromiso Bogotá, but it includes an educational platform, not mainstream, but actually more triggered or targeted, to a specific kind of education required by public leaders and community leaders. So what we do is we partner up with universities, and we have built a curriculum around participation, setting out a public project about democracy. So we do several initiatives, and what we try to do is bring up also the community leaders and work with them so that we can make our institutions a little bit stronger and build trust around community work.
Fantastic. Trust, one of the purpose, maybe. Tyler, one of the meaning of the title, the learning ecosystems, and please tell us what is that you're doing.
Thank you. My name is Tyler Samstag, and I'm the executive director of Remake Learning. We are a learning ecosystem based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And just zooming out a little bit of context, Pittsburgh, we have these two legacies. We're known as the Steel City and Mr. Rogers neighborhood. The Steel City being, we were once one of the world's largest producers of steel. And then, for those of you who are familiar with Mr. Rogers' educational television program, was filmed in Pittsburgh. In the 1970s, the steel industry was decimated, and it left Pittsburgh quite literally in ruins. And so in the 50 years since that has happened, there's been this conscious effort to reimagine Pittsburgh. And so Pittsburgh these days is a global leader in technology, in robotics, in higher ed, in healthcare. And then in 2007, something was introduced to the world that really shook the state of education, and it was the introduction of the iPhone. And so here young people had this tremendous resource in their hands, and there were educators, all types of educators, really grappling with, what does this mean for the future of learning? What does this mean for education? And so in 2007 also, the head of a foundation, the Grable Foundation based in Pittsburgh, and a professor at Carnegie Mellon University's Entertainment Technology Center were just informally discussing the role of technology and how we were seeing some really incredible uses where young people were provided the opportunity to create with technology rather than merely consume. And what that led to was just this ongoing effort to bring people together around some of the biggest challenges in learning and education in Pittsburgh. And so here we are, we're approaching 20 years, and Remake Learning is this vibrant ecosystem of educators and innovators, of artists and learning scientists, of elected officials and industry partners. And what brings us together is this interest in really pushing our thinking around the future of education, But really what drives everything that we do is this ethos that we work better when we work together.
Well, okay, we have very good initiatives to promote the working together, no? Not alone, not the individuals. We are talking about the communities and cities. In Spanish says ayuntamiento, okay? And the word ayuntamiento comes from ajuntamiento, together. This is one of the meaning of ayuntamiento in Spanish. If you don't know, it's very curiously because nobody think when live in a city is because have a lot of people around you. You are living there and you are around people, no? Okay, we'll start with the first block, the why, the purpose. Why believe that it's important to start to think in this way, to work together, to work in a communities, to work like the city is a laboratory? Wherever you want. No, nothing the first. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for us, it became a necessity after dealing and discovering around measurements that there was actually high levels of distrust or mistrust around authority leaders, and skepticism of the community about their own ability to build a project, to put forth an idea. So it came out as an actual necessity in order to restore confidence between neighbors, to lower the rates of homicide due to intolerance, but also to foster this kind of pride of the community. But in a practical sense, it also becomes a part of funding a project. So the budgetary restrictions that we get don't allow us to scale normal projects. However, when we bring communities together, when we get free hand labor due to voluntary work, where we get funders just putting in their specific parts of it, then we make it possible. So feasibility and the basic need to put forth the project was the main goal. But also at the end, it serves to secure sustainability. I believe, at least, that if it's not a grassroots project, it would not be appropriated. It would not last. So it could happen that maybe a stakeholder leaves the table and then the table wiggles, or maybe there's a shift in government and then this change of public official would lead to the next one saying, I don't want to pursue this project, that is not my legacy. Whereas if we bring a lot of stakeholders together, then even if there is abandonment rate, even if we do get scarcity of resources, even if there's a change in office, we can assure that the project will go on. So sustainability is the second. The third would be to facilitate the decision-making process, because that way you would avoid someone from taking over the discussion and just annulling another actor, but also avoiding blunt opposition. So something that we do have in Bogotá is maybe we are very, very polarized in our ideological agenda, and that sometimes leads to the fact that we don't even listen to the opinion, but just we try to avoid the opinion of going forth altogether. But if it's not characterized as coming from a specific sector, then you will get, again, feasibility, and it's very practical of the drivers, and that's how you can make it happen. So, because nobody owns it, so nobody owns the discussion, even if somebody does lead it, because we do need a facilitator, and nobody can, since they don't own it, then they will not try to block it. And finally, to allow this mutual benefit to actually arise from the community and not generate another source of conflict. What do I mean? When it's not grassrooted, since we have a very, very diverse community in Bogotá, it could happen that we're trying to implement some kind of a solution that does not actually come from what they need. Let's think about indigenous migrations or internal displacement. So sometimes they're not actually looking for a housing solution. Sometimes they just want security to go back to the land that was grabbed from them. So that's why when we try to implement a process where where we do listen to people, allow them to participate intensively, and for them to come up with a solution, we get to this feasible but also a sustainable environment where it can happen.
Wow. And Tyler, why is your opinion about the why? What is the opinion about your why?
Absolutely. Great question. So the previous two panels really focused on the importance of collaboration for the world's biggest challenges and the biggest problems. And education is no different. Learning is no different. And so I'm going to draw upon a couple publications. So Remake Learning, over our 20-year history, we've really dedicated a lot of energy into storytelling. And so we have these 3 publications that capture our story from a tactical perspective, a more philosophical, theoretical perspective, and then lastly, looking at it through impact. And so we have a publication about a theory and our philosophical why. It's called the Pittsburgh Principles, and this came out 15 years. And so, as I shared, 2007, people were wrestling with technology, during this period of rapid technological and societal change. That's no different than today with the introduction of AI, obviously. But this concept of ecosystem, why is it important to bring folks together to address the biggest challenges and the biggest opportunities? And I'll draw upon what we have here in this Pittsburgh Principles. By building networks of relationships, ecosystems connect learners to a broader network of support. By recognizing learning happens everywhere, ecosystems validate diverse learning experiences. And then lastly, most of all, by making learning everyone's concern, ecosystems spur our collective imagination about what learning could be. And so when we create the conditions that folks who are not normally kind of bumping shoulders with one another come together, that's what really excites us. And so, for instance, what if a roboticist from a university and a kindergarten teacher in the same room start talking, recognize similarities in their interest? What is possible? And that's what really excites us with Remake Learning in Pittsburgh.
All is possible. When we think thinking together is the only way to think that all is possible. Beautiful. Maria José.
Thank you, Jose. So our big why is to establish a culture where we co-create a win-win world. We have created a world that is win-lose. So in 2021, in Colombia and in many parts of the world, we had protests around inequality. So in Colombia, in the city of Cali, started the movement called Compromiso Valle. And we had established in 2020, Colombia Cares for Colombia, which is a movement that was able to get to 3 million people in the country. So what we decided, because Colombia Cares for Colombia was established as a humanitarian movement. So we wanted to transcend to a co-creator, co-responsible movement. And so we were inspired by Compromiso Valle. And now the invitation is for business people, community leaders to sit together. This is the main relationship we're promoting, is how can we create a win-win world for all of us. And of course, foundations are part of the conversation. They have always been there. So what we do with the foundations is we co-create common service routes. So when you get to a community, one same leader is being served by several foundations. So we're uniting that around the life project of that leader. So we are able to make all the initiatives from the community stronger, and we all give them. We don't like to talk about mentoring because we like to establish pairs of like in the same level relationship, peer-to-peer relationships, right? So it's all about the philosophy of co-creating a better world for all.
I know you only from yesterday. We enjoy a lot in Zurich from Ricardo coming in the next flight, and sure, Maria José is one of the persons that when you know that she is thinking how can help you, and of course this win-win is you are in the blood and you are the aim, totally. Let me say something about this why, no? For example, in our experience in Spain, working with cities and governments, and I improved to say hello to my team is watching us from YouTube in the channel. You know, if you don't know, we have a YouTube live, and you can ask for the link to follow the next days. Our team always say the same, no? We need to do good things, but we need to do good moments. And as the first ponent of the day says, party, party, party. I think maybe one of the whys, one of the purpose to work together in a community is because it's funny. It's funniest more than work alone. And when we make the innovation laboratories, Max is another colleague of us, is crazy, is our science of the laboratories. All the people are, wow, no, because with institutions, when the government is very serious and the politician, no, but when you broke this lane, immediately the mind start to think in other ways. It's a matter of equals. It's not a possession. It's not a domination. We are in the same floor, working together to create a new idea inside that we have inside. Okay, and I think this wise, maybe if we put together, you can get some ideas to put in order some laboratories in your cities. Okay, we go to the second block. The first one block is why. The second one is how. How we can do that, because it sounds good. Okay, making funny, making with purpose, rebuilding the trust of the people, learning the win-win. But how we can do that, or how you do that? Who is possible to pass to the zero to that?
You want to start?
Oh, yes, Tyler now? Okay.
Sure, thank you.
We need to change the first one.
Looking at him.
So we talked about the why, and so the how. We really think about tactics and strategies in Pittsburgh, and we use the term steward because we see ourselves as stewarding an ecosystem, or building the connections, building conditions for relationships. And we have what we call our network support strategies. We call them our 5 C's. And so I'll go through those really quickly, but it is what we're doing on the ground each and every day. And so first and foremost, we're convening. We're finding opportunities to bring people together, much like what is happening here today. And so it is built into our DNA that there's always these opportunities for people cross sectors to come together around this topic of the future of learning. As we bring people together, we coordinate. And so quite organically, when you're bringing people into the same room, topics of shared interest start to surface. And so as we recognize those, we create opportunities to coordinate efforts. Third is we catalyze. And so you might imagine as we coordinate efforts, we brainstorm, we put ideas on Post-it notes, they go up on the wall. How many times have you been in a place where you've put Post-it notes on a wall, you've left, and you've never thought about it again? We see catalytic grant funding as an opportunity to pull that Post-it note off the wall and test something. It might not be successful, but just by going through the process of trying something unorthodox, you're going to learn something. Fourth is communicate. And so we invest a lot of time and resources into telling the stories. And so we do that by capturing what does transformation look like in the field. We try to distill it down into a way that other people can learn from it, they can replicate it. And then lastly, we celebrate. We create time for people just in a joyful way to celebrate everything that's incredible about teaching and learning in education. Opportunity that educators don't often get. And so those are our 5 C's from a tactical standpoint. That is what it means to us to steward a region-wide, a city-wide learning ecosystem.
Okay, I'm gonna answer from my perspective from the 2 projects that I've been leading, the food bank and the social infrastructure project. So the things that have worked for me have been, first and foremost, not patronizing the people that we work with. And this is something that it may sound obvious, but sometimes when you try to put together a funder or a donor and a community leader, sometimes the funder would feel that they have some kind of authority to tell them, so I'm successful, I'll tell you how to be successful. And that's the approach we don't want to get. So we've been trying to I don't know, to generate some kind of inception as to what's the real value that the community leaders can bring to the table. How talking from the peers and bringing this knowledge of what the community actually needs, it's something that we need and that the funders and the donors need. And that for me has been like a game changer, absolutely, and has also lowered the level of maybe like the barriers that could be existing between the communities. The second would be to discover the real needs that they have, because sometimes we are very enthusiastic and we have a partner and we want to do some kind of project and we start and we do it and it's beautiful and then nobody uses it. And that happened once in one of the social interventions that we did. We got the painting, we got the mural, we got the artist, and then they did this beautiful court that had these motives and then nobody would use it. And then we discovered, okay, we're doing it backwards, because it turns out that what we think that they want, it's not what they need. So that's another thing, and again, it comes back to what has worked and what hasn't in the project. The third is paying attention to language and biases. So we heard this morning, they were saying language matters. So when you're working with indigenous groups, when you're working with feminists, it's not like you can use your words randomly, because they have a purpose, because they could be, I don't know, you could be held accountable for saying something even if you didn't mean it. So you have to learn the language of the communities you're entering into, so that way, first they know that you're appreciating, you take the time to know actually what is it, how is it that they see the world different to you, and how you can bring something to that project. Fourth, to design a deliberation methodology that promotes an organized and efficient discussion, because probably it has happened to many of you, social innovators, that sometimes discussions can go forever, And if you don't have like a framework, a methodology, how is it that you're going to measure who can intervene at what time, what do they represent, how to put the topics, then you're not going to get anything out of it. People are going to start abandoning. So that's another thing that has worked for us, was building this deliberation methodology, even if it has to take some time, additional time, so that they can get together and organize their thoughts and think about the rules that they want to put forth, and then stick and abide by those rules because they actually put them there. The fifth would be trying to avoid people that could derail because they may have political agenda, because they just want the networking, because they want some kind of a personal gain. So you try to test, and something that we've been doing, we've been trying to test the intrinsic motivations. So some projects that work similar to ours have established some kind of stipends. And what we try to do is not establish stipends, because we feel that that could maybe hide the intrinsic motivation. It's just having a day's paid, and that's it. So there's nothing coming out of it. And last will be finding a broader common purpose and looking for the incentives of each of the stakeholders so that all of them aligned. I'm just going to explain this briefly. So this common purpose for us has been fighting against hunger in the food bank and building trust and upbringing these community leaders. And how to align the incentives, but not everyone works out of charity. Sometimes the incentives that they're working on is because they want the propaganda, or because they need the tax credits, or because they have a lot of food waste and it's costing them a lot of money to get rid of it. And it doesn't matter. If you can align the incentives and work with each of them, then you have a project, even if the major purpose is not like the same one for all of them. That's what has worked for us.
Oh, fantastic! And the idea of to listen, no, to listen the impulse to listen. What is the need of the other people? I think is basically to get a good match Fantastic. Maria José, how we can do Compromiso Bogotá in other cities?
Thank you, Jose. The first thing is what we most value is building that trustful relationship between business people and community leaders, as I said. It has helped a lot that Colombia Cares for Colombia started in 2020 because we were actually giving them a lot of help, like humanitarian help, and that started like the trust building. Then when we are now going to a co-responsible, co-creation initiative, we can make all the time the contrast and tell them, this is not about humanitarian help, this is about, you can do it, we'll go together, and we can make it together. So it has helped a lot to us in that coherence of the message. Like we have Colombia Cares for Colombia, did all this humanitarian. Now in Compromiso Bogotá, it's all about creating together opportunities for all. And so they really get it. They have, I could say the community has made some like trials to see if we are coherent, and we have passed the trials. Yeah, they made a due diligence of each and every one of us, and so they now get it that this is the real thing. Like we are gonna build together. This is the first one. The second one, and as I said, is about building together routes, service routes. So something that is like music for the ears of the community is that most of the solutions, we don't talk about solutions, but about opportunities. Most of the solutions come like top down, right? So they come to the community and they say, I have the solution, and this is what you will receive. And they feel, and it has been a reality for them, is that they get like used by the system. So the way we are co-creating this common service route is that the community is part of the route, okay? So they are part of the co-creation, they are part of the service, they get paid for what they do if it's valuable for the community, right? So that's music for their ears, because it's like, yeah, it's a whole new perspective of how to really impact the community. So those are the two whys. And then we can go further on and say, building trust, we have to have the agreements with the business people, with the foundations, with the community. So we're building those agreements with lawyers and everything, but there are like the base of principles, basic principles, so we don't get like too confused with too many rules, but the basic principles are around common benefit. It's around like co-creating all the time, collaborating all the time. So it's been like very clear. So yeah.
I want to add a context here, because maybe you're going to wonder, why are we talking, why is it this something that's useful in Colombia? Our context, we have very fragile institutions, and right now there's unrest considering the situation, the political situation in Venezuela. And Bogotá is the first place for Venezuelan migrants. So we have that, we have increasing drug production, we have mental illness, and we have drug consumption in place. So you can imagine in this boiling pot of social unrest that was added also in pandemic, we had many, since we have informal workers, many people that could not go to the streets to get their days earning, well, they just decided rioting. So this is our context, because
totally,
then I noticed that we didn't explain that part, and since not every country has as many conflicts as we do, but we live in conflict. We've been in war since 1964 with spikes, but right now we have just ended a conversation, well, I say we, but the national government has just ended an attempt of conversations with the ELN guerrilla groups. So again, that's another source of unrest. So fragile institutions require building trust and setting some kind of infrastructure where communities can work together for themselves.
Yeah. And the context is so important because it's not the same Pittsburgh, Bogotá, Madrid, or something other city. No, Móstoles, for example, it's totally different to Madrid. It's near 20 kilometers, and we can find some different things. No? And I like to introduce to the concept of sample. For us, it's very important to make it simple, to make a simple process to work with the people. Our methodology is KaiLab. Okay, it's the name of our methodology because always say the same. If you like to fly a rocket, maybe you need to think how fly a kite, a cometa in español. And if you can fly a kite, it's very interesting to start to get the next steps, to make it simple. And in something simple, all the people go. And when you are there, you can start to get in the second floor, the third floor, no? And okay, it's more or less the same. Okay, we are. We have 15 minutes more or less, Tyler. For the timing is we have the last big block is what now what. How, why, we are talking about the why, we're talking about the how, and now what kind of things we can do if we like to improve this kind of concepts in our cities, and what is the next steps?
So as we look to the coming years in Pittsburgh, this past May, we brought people together for this conference called Forge Futures. We partnered with AASA, and we brought superintendents, the head of school districts from all over the country to the region to really think about what is the future of education, where this kind of concept of ecosystems becomes the norm. And in doing that, we really focused, well, what would we need to create in the next 3 to 5 years in order to see that change? And so as we rolled up our sleeves and we prototyped, we saw some commonalities across all of these prototypes, these innovations that will need to happen. And we call those our future features for our school systems. And those 4 things were that these systems need to center student agency, that students' passions have to really drive what learning looks like. Otherwise, you're going to have disengaged students. And so that's everything from personalized and competency-based education to project-based education. The second was schools unwalled. And so in the United States, oftentimes the school is a hub in the community, but it's walled off from the community. And there's just incredible resources that exist in one's community. And so as we think of personalization and a student's journey, their learning journey, we have to unwall school. The third is if we're unwalling school, there's opportunity to have a broader definition of what an educator is. Maybe it is a business leader, maybe it is an elected official, but we can start to think of all of the assets within one's community in which we can look to as educators. And then lastly is opportunity to credential out of school learning. And so in the United States, summer is such a rich time for learning. So is after school. So how do we not look at education as confined to school building or school day, but we can credential learning that takes place at all times and in any location. And so as we look ahead, we're really interested into bringing people together around these kind of 4 future features and prototyping what this could look like in communities around our region. But then we have grantees that are exploring this around the country and around the world.
I will take the word of Maria José to change the order.
Okay, as I said in the beginning, we're focusing mainly on strengthening leaders, and from there, working on how the community has better income. Like with income, as worked with Soy Doy, it's very important to generate income so the community can solve their own problems, right? So this is the first one. Then connecting through culture. We found that really through music, through art, through sports, we can really connect with the roots of that community and really get to know each other personally, profoundly. And the third one is mental health. So we found, as Carolina was saying, a lot of drug abuse in the community, and it all starts in mental health. So what we're doing is we're working with initiatives that already address the problem, but with the neighbors in the community that can become the support groups. That's the innovation we are generating because we believe that no one better than the neighbor to know about your needs.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Carolina.
For us, both projects started year one through practical solutions. So regarding hunger, we did this food bank initiative with the food rescuing and the hubs where we use micro-logistics. And in regards to the interventions to better the public spaces, we looked for the paintings and the artists, and we did the murals and we did the parks. So what's step two? Now we're looking in both cases in regards to the nutrition program and regards to the infrastructure, we're looking for the educational platform. So what we're trying to build is, in regards to the nutrition, we're working with the directors of the agency partners so that they know how to transform food into healthy meals for the people that they serve. And this way, we avoid waste to be generated in the moment that they are cooking it, but also we avoid losing main nutrients. So we're working with them in education and also in with the the community leaders. We're about to start, and we will start at the next week. Actually, we're going to launch the program with the 5 universities that have partnered with us, so that we start this democracy, participation, and public funding and public projects initiative, so that we also can work with them, so that it's enduring, so that it's lasting, and it's not just the small interventions that they did with us, where they were motivated, where they were volunteers, or maybe they planted the trees, because that's another kind of intervention we do, but it's also what are we living there as capacity building. So in both sides, we go forward to the educational part of it.
Okay, I like to share one of the words for me is working in the what, and the word is share. Maybe we need to share more. We need to share the opportunity, for example, to be here, like Catalyst make it, or to share a contact for the win-win, and to share an idea with our group. No, but when we are in the energy of share and abundance energy, we can make something crazy. And when you can test, if you are with your family in a round table and you start with speak with her about something, and you share with your uncle something, you can see that the other person start to move in other way. And if I can share with you, trying to share in your communities the idea to create this kind of things. Is learning, contact with Taylor and share the opportunity to Taylor. If it's a matter of communities or something like for the benefit to Bogotá, share with Bogotá. And if it's with Madrid or Móstoles, please share with me one idea or something like that, because it's marvelous, these kind of things, because we are 8 billion of people in the world. If we start to share more, maybe this transformation way is faster than if we get it in our mind. Okay, this is the moment to share with you the microphone. Share with the people who like to make a question for one of the panelists. And after the question, we give a minute to make an introspection. I don't know what you say in English, sorry. Introspection. In a matter of the meaning of innovation. Okay, one hand, 2 hands. I don't know, where is the microphone? There? This one. Okay. Your name?
So my name is Manuela, so also more Spanish. Also, I'm coming from Germany, and I'm a spiritual awakened person. So I was wondering if you're also talking about spirituality and awakening, because I missed about the part of the soul. And it's a lot about the mental health, but I learned also through my transformation process, it's really a lot about healing the soul and dealing with the trauma, also when you have drug issues and so on, because you need to go back to the root, like we do that with energy medicine. So my questions would be, are you talking about that? So because we have a mass spiritual awakening on the planet, and do you also, can you offer the people something for support? Because many people need support now because they wonder what's happening and they're looking for their purpose and their gifts. And the second question would be, are you also having special programs for the elderly population? Because I see in Germany, especially in my hometown, that it's not always easy to integrate them. Because, it's more like silos, right? They are for them, and the younger generation is a lot of more technicized, and the elderly population cannot speed up with them, so cannot catch up. So that is two questions, spirituality and elderly population. Thank you.
Can I ask the spirituality, because when she said, I said, wow, this is because I work with governments and I work with technical people, because we work directly with the technical workers in the government, and it's in some moments one of the guys, Diego from Burgos. Hi, Diego, if you are yes, and Diego says, oh, Jose, this kind of things is too much spirituality to me. And I say, no, it's a matter of soft skills about you. It's a matter of emotions. But sometimes we confuse the emotions and this kind of thing with the spirituality. I love the spirituality, and I think that we are more than individuals. And this is a kind of spirituality. But I always trying to convince. I always trying to sell. I am selling from my first work is for salesman, and I always try to sell things, no. And when I trying to sell the idea to share to make, trying to get the technical profiles, it's difficult to see these kind of things, and maybe we need to put in on first floor. First floor is. The inside, for example, the inner development goals. Maybe tomorrow have, I think tomorrow have a roundtable about the inner development goals. It's a very good tools, and it's not a matter of spirituality. It's a matter to inside. But it's my opinion. The rest.
Just the way, just for motivation. So I have a lot of engineers.
Microphone. It's not the people don't listen.
So just for motivation, I founded a meetup group, and I have 350 people now, and there's a lot of engineers there and IT people, and I was really surprised. So I said, oh, cool. So I'm very spiritual, very awakened, high frequent person. So, but they're really interested in meditation, just to start the first step with meditation, calming the mind, just to learn about how to ground. And that is just, what I try to bring out into the world. So there is a way for everybody. Yeah. So spirituality does not need to be something strange. So we can just teach about nature and meditation and come. When you start there, then you go step by step further.
Okay.
So in the case of Compromiso Bogotá, we have introduced meditation and grounding in some of the gatherings already, but the whole strategy has a very well established in the culture and mental health areas. For us, it's very, very important, and we work a lot with young people. And the conversation, I tell business people, we are in a new enlightenment period, right? So and this is the language spoken, and we are getting the gatherings between business people and the community have a lot of this common language building, because we know that the center has to be a lot around spirituality and the Mother Earth and everything. And about working with older people. It depends on the initiatives of the leaders. So 10% of them work with elderly. Mm-hmm.
In our case, the public interventions that we do, and the educational platform has a course regarding conflict resolution, which is aimed at managing emotions. So they do not actually do meditation, but they do try to rationalize on how to cope with very aggressive feelings, how to lead a discussion without losing your mind. Well, that kind of thing goes in the educational part. In the food bank, several kitchen soups that we serve are elderlies. So we prioritize from 0 to 5 years old, just because we have found that the highest nutrition gap is in this range of age, but also we do serve elderlies, and we take certain programs with the agency partners. We try to do case management because there are high rates of abandonment of adults in Bogotá. So basically, family members taken to the hospital in some kind of emergency and leave them there. And then these agency partners take them, and not only we provide the meals, but try to give them exercise and all of these activities that we're doing with the cooks of the program. We try to do with their elderly as well, so that they know they have a life project, that they are useful for their communities. And the last one is this is another project. I didn't even mention it, but to answer your question, we're working a lot with, it's called the wellness afternoons. So we do them every other week. And what we do there, it's like a kind of a fair, and we bring private and public sectors, public offerings, so that people can have access to mental health hotlines, so they can know what to do if they've been abused. They can access also training. And that's another way of approaching the deal.
Taylor?
So quickly, through the lens of education and ecosystems, again, we're trying to build conditions where folks are coming together. And so you are stewarding connections through this meetup, and you're surprised with how much interest exists. And so we welcome you to Pittsburgh, but if you were Pittsburgh and you were at an event, you might be sharing the importance of spirituality with others, and you'll potentially find folks, or you'll likely find folks who also share that interest. Then there's opportunity to coordinate efforts. And so that could be creating a working group where you start to asset map what exists in the region. And then you could apply through Remake Learning for grant funds to say, hey, what if you and I tried something different out of the box, and you could receive grant funds. And so when those conditions become the norm in a region, a great example of a school district who partnered with a hospital and also horse stables, they were really interested in tackling mental health. And so they partnered with hospital and horse stables to create equine therapy. So opportunities for young people to work with animals through the lens of mental health, as well as horticulture therapy. So they actually hired a therapist through the lens of horticulture to explore that through the lens of mental health.
Okay, we have another more for...
Yes, so thank you. Very insightful panel indeed. This particular question is going to Maria Jose and Carolina. You have a very successful story, Tyler. Congratulations. But I want to point out what you discussed briefly regarding the displaced people, or I don't know if you call them refugees. It depends on the status they have. Coming myself from Lebanon, where we have displaced Syrian people, we have refugees, Palestinian refugees, and we even had displaced people within our same country during the war, the last one. So I want to ask, because other people maybe living in well-developed countries don't even know what it's like to have, like for Lebanon, for instance, we are 5 million population. We got to have 2.3 million people from Syria being displaced due to the war. So my point is, how do you explain clearly to people that the hosting communities are suffering on their own, they have their own needs, and there comes a huge amount of human beings with their own sufferings, with their own needs? How do you create this balance in the country as per your experience? And thank you in advance.
Okay, so one of the boroughs that we're working is, and one we're both working is in Suba, which is in the northern end of the city, and that's the area with the highest level of Venezuelan population. But it turns out that Bogotá has received over 1.5 million Venezuelan migrants in the last 5 years, and we're expecting much more refugees considering that Maduro took oath for the third time after a fraud election.
But what's the population, sorry, for the audience to understand the ratio?
So Bogotá has around 8 million. So if you have 1.5 million Venezuelan inhabitants, and also there is a lot of xenophobia. I don't know if that's a word in English.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a huge challenge, because you have part of a community that wants to act as a host, but most of the community tries simply to assign every problem of the community, theft, drug abuse, drug gangs, and they're saying, oh no, those are the Venezuelan migrants, those are the indigenous displaced population, because they have less means. So one of the things that we try to do is bring together, and this is basically what gave rise to the need of a project for trust building, because we need them to be able to speak with their neighbors and work with their neighbors in a common ground. So we found that bettering public spaces and public infrastructure was a way to make them speak about something they can all relate to, even if they're very different, even if they don't like each other. But at least they all care that the community center is okay, that they all have their their basketball court, that they have their waves are paved. So they can at least not kill each other over it, and try with the educational platform that we're aiming for, that at the end they can see each other as neighbors and as part of a same community. Integration is a huge part of this, and it's a huge part of the violence that is rising in certain neighborhoods of Bogotá. So it is a huge deal for us. We even have internally displaced people for conflict. So we've been having conflict in the northeastern and the southwestern sides of our country, all around, but mostly there. So that brings many people to the center, and Bogotá has many opportunities, job opportunities, industries. So people get there and we host, but also we have many needs. So we need to integrate, to avoid violence, and to give them opportunities. For example, this Saturday, actually, this is why I cannot stay the entire week, we have a session where we're doing advisory, social and legal advisory for migrants, so they can legalize their status and work in Colombia. Because if they don't have a legal status, then what can they do? So but it is a huge challenge, very huge. And I can see that you know about this, and that's why you asked.
Yes, but what you were just saying about legalizing their status, it will create a change in demographic. And that's another issue that you will have to face. Yeah.
So in Compromisos Bogotá's case, we work a lot in pedagogy for collaboration. So we have this, for example, this WhatsApp group where we have 150 community leaders from Suba, and sometimes they start like having discussions about different things, and we work a lot with them, like privately coaching them, talking about how to use language respectfully, how not to make a debate about politics, but mainly about what's the common good. And for starters, our coordinator, she's from Venezuelan. So that's part of our inclusion. It's absolutely coherent. And since in Suba, there's a lot of, I think it's 400,000 Venezuelans in that location.
That's about 1/3 of the population of the borough.
Yeah, exactly. But this community has been used to receive people from the rest of the country where there's conflict. So it's part of their dynamic. So it's not difficult, really, but it takes a lot of pedagogy.
It's a boiling pot.
Okay, we have 2 minutes only. One question more. Yeah?
Great stuff. Thanks very much.
Excuse me, the microphone.
Oh,
Yeah.
shut up. There you go. Great stuff. Thank you very much. I'm Alan Braithwaite from the UK, Catalyst member. Listening to you, I wondered whether you'd ever come across the work of Professor Moss Cantor, who looked at thriving communities probably about 20 years ago across the States. and came to very similar conclusions. I don't know if you've ever seen that. She wrote a book called World Class. I just wondered whether that had touched your consciousness.
No,
Worth
but
a
I'm
read.
going to look for it.
Yeah.
And there's a NGO in Kenya that we met on a trip there called Afrinov, dealing very specifically with the sort of community violence issues against governments. I wondered if you'd appreciate that contact. If you would, I'll give it to you.
Very much.
Okay. One more? We have time for one more? Yeah? One more. The last one.
Hi, Penny Lo from Singapore. I just want to say hello and good job you're doing. Last year I was invited by Connect Bogotá, to speak at your global innovation forum or something like that. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it. So, I'm very happy to be reconnected here. I just want to, echo, some of the sentiments that the gentleman has just spoken. Professor Rosbeth Moskanta, very good friend of mine, has written quite a lot of works and done a lot of stuff on social innovation, social entrepreneurship, and she's got very nice frameworks, that could be used. Myself, I'm also a town builder, so I built the first eco town in Singapore. I used to be the elected member of the Singapore Parliament for 15 years, and I'm also an advocate of social entrepreneurship. I think that's why your colleagues invited me. But I just want to build on what you have done. I think it's very, very important work, especially as you bring in migrants and people from different places. It is also a golden opportunity to reshape the values of the society itself. Because a lot of the time, once it becomes mainstream and norm, it's very difficult to change. But you have this wonderful opportunity, not just to shape Bogotá, but Bogotá is also the most innovative, should I say, state in the whole of Colombia, in my opinion, humble opinion. And certainly, there's a lot that can be done as to make it become a role model. And we're very happy to, engage and help in that process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we just finished. We passed 5 minutes of the time, but if permitted to close with one thought, one word, or one sentence. You like it? Tyler, your first one? One. Okay.
Co-responsible.
Co-responsible?
Yeah.
I would say listening.
Listening.
Intermediary. And so for us, we really rely on intermediaries, folks who can go between different sectors, do some of that translation work.
Wow. Okay. Share now the moment, the coffee or the drinks, and share the next panel that I think we can watch a documentary. It's very interesting. Thank you very much.
Can we take a picture?